Hey everybody, it's Rob Gregory from Longevity Health and Fitness. Coming again, talking a little bit about stretching, the do's and do nots of stretching before strength training. I've had some really good questions from people the last couple of days about, I hear all this different stuff. Am I supposed to stretch? Am I not supposed to stretch? I thought I wasn't supposed to stretch, if I'm a weightlifter. When you're resistance training, it's critical that you stretch for sure. All weightlifting does as we continue to strengthen the muscles is make them more and more and more compact and tense. We want to make sure that we're not just all stoved up and all tight. We want to make sure that we can also lengthen those tissues and lengthen, especially for the joint's sake. If we're always tight like this, the joint gets used to being tight too. And the body's lazy, so it's not going to do what you don't ask it to do. So if you don't ask it to lengthen, it's not going to lengthen. Muscle only has one job, to shorten. If we want to shorten the elbow, the bicep is going to just shorten. If we want to lengthen the elbow, the tricep has to shorten in order to lengthen. So they're kind of fighting each other a little bit. You've got a brother and a sister always going back and forth at each other. But the idea there is that if we can constantly be in a strengthening and lengthening cycle of training, then that's kind of the best mix to be in for the joint, for the muscles, for the tendons, and the ligaments there that all kind of keep the integrity of the joint capsule and the skeletal structure together. So the whole point of moving is to be able to be limber and loose. We want to make sure that we're able to relax a little bit, but we also want to make sure that we're conditioned. So the ultimate answer for should I stretch is yes, but it's a matter of when to stretch. We want to make sure that before activities we do some kind of a warming up for our body, and that essentially is what a lot of you know that have trained with me is a dynamic warm-up. That dynamic warm-up is not just, can I stretch, touch my toes kind of thing and try to get a good hamstring stretch. We don't do that long term. Stretching muscle over a long period of time for like static stretching, let's say 40 seconds or longer, that will start to inhibit muscle tissue. It lengthens it. It makes sense. If muscle is supposed to shorten and we lengthen it, it's not going to shorten as strong as it could have. So as we lengthen muscle tissue, it gets weaker temporarily. Okay, so we don't want to do that right before we're about to go do sprints. But if we're about to run and we want to loosen up, we do want to do something that helps us stretch those muscles out a little bit. So, the dynamic warm-up, we'll talk more about that in another video. But essentially what I want to kind of clarify is that we do want to warm up before we do any strength training and resistance training. Get the joint moving, so that's where your incline push-ups or push-ups will come in handy for a chest day, let's say, or even a pull day. It warms up the shoulder. A reclined row, a nice simple reclined row or a nice easy row with a lighter weight can work to help warm up the shoulder capsule, as well as doing some bodyweight squats or lunges or some high knees. We'll get into that for a dynamic warm-up. But the thing that you really want to focus on is when you're done with your strength training, you want to make sure that you stretch. And it doesn't matter if you just kind of do a stretch off a wall or off a pillar, somewhere to stretch out the chest or stretch the back, reach up overhead. If you go to a yoga class, I don't care what you do to stretch, but it is important that you stretch afterwards. My rule is that for every 30 minutes of training, you should be stretching 5 to 10 minutes afterwards. So if you're going to do, a half hour or an hour, workout for chest, at least 10 minutes of stretching to kind of stretch out the chest. Now, it doesn't always have to happen right then at the time, but you do want to lengthen those muscles again. You can use a band, nice and easy, to kind of pull back and just stretch that out a little bit. You want to really focus on letting those thumbs rotate back to open the chest up, okay? You don't have to go all the way around, and you can easily, with a band, the nice thing is you can change the tension and you can change your hand position. So if I can't manage a band that's this tight at this length, here, that's really stiff, I can come out here just a little bit and I can really work that whole shoulder around and I can focus on stretching. Or I can always wrap it around something, hook my hand through it, and I can just kind of stretch off that band. I want to be real careful not to fight the band, but I can stretch through the band. You always want to turn away when you stretch out the chest, look up, look down. That's going to help hit the scalene muscles. So there are other specific stretches obviously that you can do, but the big theme of this video today is to make sure that we do stretch. If you're a strength trainer, whenever you're doing your strength training, your resistance training, stretch afterwards. do a warm-up before, do some kind of pre-work before you actually start the training itself, and make sure that you do stretch. Remember that movement is the medicine. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, message me here, or shoot me an email, or leave me a voicemail. Look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.